I need the World Cup to be over so that Americans can stop sharing their opinions on football. I need the World Cup to be over so that Americans can stop sharing their opinion on football. Yes, I'm wearing a USA jersey. Yes, I'm here in London. Yes, I have a British accent. Yes, I have a Nigerian name. We are going to unpack all of that a little bit later because we do not have the time to do it right now. Let us focus on the matter at hand. Here's another reason why Americans aren't big into soccer. In a tournament with the magnitude of the World Cup, games should never ever be decided by penalty kicks. They should just keep playing 15-minute increments of extra time until there is a winner. War of attrition. These aren't some regular season league games. That's one of the first tweets that I saw. Then there was this tweet. Having watched some of the World Cup, my opinion that soccer is inherently inferior to football hasn't changed. Soccer is simply a far less tactically and strategically complex game. I suppose that is good for a universal sport, but it bores me. And I'll give you one final tweet to further illustrate what it is that I am trying to say. All these Europeans are complaining that Americans are suggesting improvements to soccer. Improving things constantly is why the American GDP is 30 trillion and you still have no AC in 2026. In our sports, we fixed overtime rules in the NFL, flopping rules in the NBA, and added the pitch clock to the MLB, all in the last few years. Adapt or die. Oh, brother, get a load of this guy. And since the start of the World Cup, there have been so many types of these kind of tweets, so many people sharing their opinions that sound similar to the ones that I've just read out. And there are so many people in America who are probably watching football, probably watching this sport properly for the very first time, but they have found it within themselves to constantly feel the need to share their opinion on how to improve the world's most popular sport. Now, I don't want to be mistaken. I want to make sure that I'm being very clear in what it is that I'm trying to communicate. I am all for evolution in all areas of life and specifically in football. I am not saying that we should not be open to suggestions or open to ways in which we can improve the game. But when the suggestions that are being offered are rooted in lack of knowledge and willful ignorance, it makes it very difficult and it makes it very, very hard to take anything that is suggested seriously. I and many non-Americans have often felt, and please don't fight me, this is just an observation, I'm happy to be corrected, but I have often felt that a lot of Americans are so consumed by their own world, it is sometimes a little difficult for them to comprehend anything outside of their own bubble. See, that's the nice and British way of me saying it. What I really wanted to say is, Americans are so self-absorbed and so dismissive of anything that doesn't cater to their specific needs. And there are so many ways that we can look at this conversation. We can talk about America and America's exceptionalism. We can talk about the differences in sports culture across the world. We can talk about the American need to optimize everything in the world. We can talk about how America sees everything as a product. But on today's episode of Small Talk, I want to talk about how the American opinion on football is a reflection of how Americans have been indoctrinated to think that they are the greatest and the best at everything in the world. Yo, what's going on? My name is Ore. I am a presenter, broadcaster, cultural commentator, and all-round creative idiot. And welcome back to another episode of Small Talk. This is where I sit in my bed and dissect the world of news, sport, politics, entertainment, popular culture, fashion, and everything in between, but aim to delve that little bit deeper than beneath the surface. USA! USA! USA!
We support the US! The US! The US! That's the way we like it! We like it! We love it!
Okay, so I'm not going to sit up here and spend the entirety of this episode just bashing America because I actually really like the US. I really, really love the US. A year ago, actually, I was in Atlanta and I've spent some time in New York and I've spent some time in LA and I've had a great time every time I've gone to America. And I actually want to move to New York later in my life. And as much as I'm in this bed critiquing America, ironically, despite what the media has shown us about the nation and how we perceive Americans, they are some of the nicest people in the world. I met so many lovely people in America. So I'm not here to just bash the nation and just say how everything is bad. But there is one thing that Americans do. Americans have this unique ability to constantly remind us of their alleged greatness. They are so confident and they are so direct with how great they are. Americans have this sort of inherent belief that they're the greatest country in the world, and they just say it all the time. They say it like a matter of fact, in fact. In the same way that I would say the sky is blue, water is wet, they say it all the time. And that sort of belief system is conditioned into the American psyche from a very, very young age. And that does something to a person. That does something to a human. It creates this siege mentality, this sort of us against the world, and this kind of we need to be the savior complex that America has adopted since, well, its inception 250 years ago. I'm actually filming this on the 4th of July, which is somewhat fitting for the topic at hand. So bringing all of this into the context of football and bringing all of this into the context of the World Cup, it kind of makes sense as to why a lot of Americans do not enjoy the sport. It is a sport which is mainly popular outside of their country, and it is a sport where their men's team is significantly inferior to the dominant footballing nations. The women, on the other hand, incredible. Incredibly successful, won multiple World Cups, some of the best players in the world. And if anything, the men should be taking notes from the women, not just in football, but just in every area and every facet of life. But football is actually a great way to exemplify that. So because Americans, the men, aren't as successful as the other nations, there is a tendency for some of them to dismiss soccer. Generalization, I know. And as the World Cup is currently happening, it's happening in the US, it's happening in Mexico and Canada, but let's be honest, it's really just the American World Cup, as in the United States World Cup. Football is the world's most popular sport. 4 billion people on this planet watch this sport, and instead of these people trying to understand the game and understand why it's so loved around the world, some Americans, and I'm going to keep saying some because I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush, some Americans are watching this sport and watching this game as if they are watching it like Karens. Oh my God, that is the perfect way to describe it. Some Americans are watching football, soccer, like Karens. It's almost like they have got their clipboards and their pens trying to nitpick and criticize every finite detail, everything about the game, or everything that they consider to be wrong about the sport. So when I was putting this video together, I collated a lot of tweets that I'd seen, and I saw this particular tweet. And as much as this is probably a joke, and it's not representative of the general feeling, the fact that a tweet like this exists is kind of hilarious, and it is the perfect example of the American mindset that we are currently dealing with in this World Cup cycle. The idea that football in its current format is wrong, and whatever suggestion they have for it is the best way for the sport to gain further popularity, because we Americans, we do sports the best. And it's funny because a lot of the suggestions that they have, those suggestions don't actually add to the overall quality of the game. I'm seeing in this discourse that a lot of Americans don't like a lot of things about football. Things like the offside rule or offsides. I don't know where the S has come from, but they keep calling it offsides. They don't like penalty shootouts. They don't like the fact that a lot of games end in low scores, or they don't like the fact that a lot of games and a lot of matches end up as draws. And that's because that's not how they consume sport as a product. I feel dirty saying that. Ugh. But that's not how they consume sport. Anything that doesn't have a high score, anything that is not enthralling end to end, back and forth, anything that doesn't have 1,000,001 adverts is considered a waste of time. Generalization once again, but from what I've observed, it's considered a waste of time. And there's another part of the conversation that I keep seeing or I keep hearing. A lot of Americans are saying, America should host the World Cup every year. America should host the World Cup every World Cup cycle. This is the best World Cup ever. People are loving this World Cup more than any other World Cup because it's in America. Can you people be any more delusional? Can you people be any more self-absorbed? And this is almost the most American thing an American could say about a sport that they call soccer, when the majority of the world calls that same sport football. There is this belief that our way is the only way or is the better way, and you guys don't know what you are doing. The tournament that the whole world, keys in the name, World Cup, the tournament that the whole world loves, has come to your country for the second time, and everyone's having a nice time, and your immediate conclusion is that therefore the tournament should never leave and it should always be here. You have no idea why the tournament is great. They think the magic of the World Cup is because of them. But the reason why the World Cup is one of the best events, in my opinion, the greatest event on earth, is because it moves around the world. Keys in the name. Every 4 years, the World Cup packs its bag and it moves to another continent, another country, another part of the world, whether that be Brazil, South Africa, or Qatar, or Mexico. Wherever the World Cup moves to that summer or winter, that country or that region becomes the center of the world. It expands borders and allows us to understand new cultures and new people, whether that's Argentinians or Nigerians or Croatians or Japanese, all pouring into one place and calling it home for the moment that the World Cup is on. They soak up and they enjoy that city, and they'd probably never visit that place if the World Cup wasn't there. And they take a piece of that country and they go back home and have the memories forever. That is literally the essence of the World Cup. That is the romance. That is what makes it great. And I know this isn't a universal sentiment amongst all Americans. I know it's probably people in the media rage baiting, people online being facetious, but underneath all of that, if we unpack it a little bit, underneath all of that, it does give us a little glimpse into the mindset of some people in that nation. And it furthers my belief that they assume that they are the best at everything. Because you can't claim you should host a tournament forever while simultaneously proving in the same breath, in the same conversation, that you've missed the entire point why the very tournament exists. You see, in life, a normal person gains confidence by learning the thing first. They get confidence by trialing and erroring. And a lot of people from that particular nation are just loud and wrong all the time, every single time. And they wear their ignorance like a badge of honor. And this leads perfectly into my next point. Indoctrination. I'm just realizing, I think a lot of Americans are going to hate me after this video. I actually really like our country. I like the US. I'm just trying to critically analyze. I will do the same thing for England, by the way. Oh, what? Let me do a video on the UK and England. It will be worse than this. So Americans, don't worry. I just want to create a space where we can have honest conversation. So don't hate me. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, actually. And if you want to, like the video. If you haven't subscribed, I think you should. We do videos like this every week. It's very fun and enjoyable. And it's a space for us to talk about things in a healthy and productive way. But there are two extremes of this American indoctrination. On one hand, in some states in the US, in the classroom, before school, before kindergarten, kids will stand up with their hand on their heart and recite a pledge of allegiance to the flag. They probably can't even spell the word allegiance. I can't even ALLIEGANCE. Yeah, I can spell it. No, you can't. They are pledging allegiance and performing devotion as a daily ritual. Nowhere else in the developed world does this on a regular basis. Then you have phrases like the land of the free, home of the brave, leader of the free world. A phrase that kind of quietly assumes that the free world requires a leader. And if it needs a leader, that it obviously has to be them. And listen, I understand politics and geopolitics and economics, and historically, America has actually been the epicenter of the world. So I sort of understand why they position themselves as the main character in every situation in life. But even on a smaller macro level, only in America will a baseball or a basketball team play in a competition between two American teams and then call the winner of that competition the world champions of the World Series in a country, in a league that is geographically in the same place.
World champion of what? The United States?
And here is what that does to a person. If you are raised in a country where you are told that you are going to be the best at everything, it never gives you the space to learn new things, or it never gives you the space to be a true and honest beginner. Because to be a beginner in anything, you first have to accept that there are people out there that have more knowledge than you. And that acceptance and that willingness to accept that you don't know what you're talking about has kind of been trained out of Americans, and that's how the indoctrination starts. So when we bring all of that context into football, the American mind sometimes dismisses the sport because it can't comprehend the practices that it simply does not understand. And in their ignorance, they don't give themselves the space to try and understand it. They just label it as wrong, or they label it as boring. It's even kind of funny that Americans call what we call football soccer. Sorry, I've got to stop doing that accent. I've got to stop doing that accent. It's kind of funny that Americans call football soccer when the word soccer in itself derives from the English term association football. And look, I want to re-emphasize, this episode isn't me sat up here going, oh my God, Americans are so stupid. Oh my God, Americans don't know anything about football. This isn't what I'm trying to do here. And if that is what you've taken away from this episode so far, you're actually missing the entire point. It's not about intelligence or lack of intelligence, because some of the greatest minds who have ever walked this planet have been Americans. Some of the most intelligent people in this world are Americans. It's more about how a mentality has been born in a set of people, and some people with that mentality refuse to look past their own 2 feet. Every country flatters itself. Every country has things about it that makes it special and makes it unique. And most countries realize that they are just one country in a world of different cultures, languages, cuisines, countries, and people with different perspectives. You know, you could be in the middle of Europe, and if you got into your car and drove for 72 hours, you could end up in Germany, France, Belgium, Italy, Spain within that 72-hour period, and you can encounter different perspectives in that time frame. But America, on the other hand, is a country that is big enough and dominant enough and culturally loud enough to never have to go beyond their own shores. They could go a lifetime and have everything that they need within their country. And if you are raised inside that echo, and that echo is all that you've ever heard, of course you're going to think that the sound started with you. Which brings me back to the World Cup, because this is where this entire conversation started. I'm sorry to break it to you, Americans, but the rest of us love this game exactly the way it is. The entire planet, across every language, across borders, across faith, we've all looked at this game and agreed that yes, it has its flaws. There are things that we would change, things that we would tweak, and it's not perfect, but respectfully, we don't need your notes. We don't need your suggestions. We don't need your silly critiques. There are 4 billion of us that like it the way it is. And the reason why a lot of the suggestions that are being given are so annoying isn't because they are wrong about the details they may potentially improve. It's more about the fact that it will kill the exact thing that, I keep emphasizing this 4 billion number, but it kind of does re-emphasize just how big this sport is. But it kills the very thing that 4 billion people across the world fell in love with. We don't want 4-quarter games with hydration breaks. We don't want super high ticket prices. We don't want the camera constantly panning to some Z-list celebrity that we've never heard of or we don't know. We don't want there to be constant breaks in play. We just want the football. We just want the football, because to us, that's all that matters. All right, we've made it to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Americans, don't fight me. Don't fight me. I just wanted to share my thoughts and my observations. But I always say I want to create a space where we can constructively critique things without it descending into Atlantic back and forth. I will do a version of this for the UK, by the way. Oh, listen, I got all the smoke for the UK, so this isn't reserved just for America. But yeah, we are in the middle of the World Cup. I'm filming this before America's game against Belgium. I don't know what's happened. Okay, so I'm currently editing this video in a cafe, and I feel like I have to do a really quick update because so much has happened since I filmed that video, and so much has developed in both the World Cup, relationships with Trump, and how people are feeling about Americans and their overall feeling towards the World Cup. It's kind of crazy how Donald Trump, the President of the United States, made a phone call to the FIFA president to get a red card rescinded. And if that happened in Russia, if that happened in Qatar, the conversation from Americans would be very, very different. But I find it interesting that a lot of Americans are defending this decision. I find it interesting that they are feeling like they have been hard done by, and it further fuels the European American divide. I won't even say it's a European American. I think it's more of American versus the world divide. I do feel for Balogun in this whole situation because he has had a really good tournament. He's performed really, really well. But unfortunately now, he's going to be forever marred and tarred with the stupid decision that Donald Trump made. I'm just happy that the US lost. I'm so happy that they lost. I woke up at 2 a.m. UK time to catch the last 10 minutes, and I saw Lukaku's goal, and I saw them do the Trump celebration. Yeah, man, the hate that I have in my heart, fantastic. But what a tournament! What a tournament! Sorry, I have to whisper because I'm in a cafe and there are people around me. But back to the video. But we'll see what happens. I'm doing loads of videos in and around the World Cup, about the players, about the teams, about the culture of football. So if you are enjoying these videos, make sure you subscribe. And talking of those videos, click here to watch one I did about Kylian Mbappe and why so many people see him as a dictator. And if you want to watch something else, click here to watch one I did about Jude Bellingham and why we have got him mistaken. Thank you very much once again, and I will see you on the next one. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.